which means that at least 20 of them wasn't the original Lucy, but they were hailed as being the one. And if you ask them, they'll swear up and down there's only one. What they have done is they've taken collections of bones, who knows what kind of bones, human, baboon, gorilla, chimpanzee, plaster Paris, all these different things, and they parade those to different museums to get people to come in and to get them to buy tickets to the museum and learn about evolution. Well, there was 21 of these parading at one time. There was a guy that went around and took pictures. He flew to different locations and he took pictures, and they are nothing alike. They look totally different. So most likely, those are just what's called a Frankenstein, a jackalopian construction. A jackalope is, of course, when somebody takes deer horns and puts it on a rabbit, and it's not a real animal, and it's something that they do, as a fake. Well, Lucy is just like that. They've taken different bones. A little while back, they found out that one of the bones of Lucy was a baboon vertebrae, in its back. And supposedly Lucy is, its own creature. But they did DNA testing and found out that, indeed there is a bone that came from a baboon. They believe that, there's certain people that believe that Lucy has a human knee because the knee was found in a different location. They just added it to the rest of the skeleton. So there's about 4 different creatures that make up Lucy. But at the time, it was hailed as the evidence for evolution. An article came out a little while back and said all evolutionary articles have an 86% retraction rate. That means even the people that believe in evolution, they retract the articles and said this was bad, it was fake, it was not good science. And so 86%. So how could you have anybody as a peer, over you if they have an 86% retraction? Nothing from the Bible has ever been retracted. Everything in the Bible, through biblical archaeology, every city, wells, stones, mountains, cities, everything in the Bible, you can just look it up and you can find out that there's evidence for all of these things. Hard, concrete evidence. Evolution, you gotta wait millions of years, before you see any kind of proof. So, one of the last things, the last one is ad hominems, the idea that evolutionists, will attack you personally. They'll call you an idiot. They'll say you're ignorant. They'll say, you're of course you're religious. That's the first one. But they'll say all of these things to attack you personally to get you off of the subject. What I normally say, because this is childish behavior. We need to be talking science. We don't need to be, trying to cut the other person down and distract. We need to have an honest debate. Well, one of the things that I do is I always say, okay, is there an adult in the house? Where you're at, can an adult, have a debate, because we'd like to keep this, purely adult, because it's really childish to just, involve in name calling. Socrates, he was a Greek philosopher, and one thing that he said, slander is the tool of the loser. Slander means to attack somebody personally. So the idea that if somebody attacks you personally, they have already lost the discussion. So, but yeah, I try to avoid that as much as possible. Let me go ahead and erase this. Now, where does evolution come from? Does anybody know? Was it like Charles Darwin? Do you think that's where it came from? Is that where it began? You know, Charles Darwin's only degree was in theology. He wasn't a trained scientist. He had a theology degree, which meant he went to Bible school. That's it. That's all he had. He's hailed as this great scientist, and he's never had any formal training. So of course he doesn't count as anybody's peer. But evolution, you can track evolution and go back and see where it comes from. You know, for the most part here in America, it comes from Britain because Charles Darwin, you know, made the origin of species and stuff like that. But if you go back even further, you can go back to a guy named Spinoza, and he was a Greek philosopher. His religion is pantheism. Every single thing about Darwinism you can find with the Greek philosophers and their pantheist beliefs. And you know, you'll learn about polytheism, you'll learn about theism, you'll learn about every kind of religion that there is. But you will not hear pantheism in a government school. You just will not hear about it. They don't want you to know about it because if you learn what it is, you'll realize that evolution is pantheism. And notice this word here, pan. You know, when the chimpanzee, they named him Pan troglodyte. So it has that word pan right there too. And the source of pantheism is not a god. It's actually nature. And this thing has multiple meanings, and we're going to go through that. But after Spinoza in the Greek, you can go back farther. You can go back farther in time into ancient Egyptian belief system, and you'll see this word. And it's where that word comes from, nature. And this word, in its original meaning, meant the power of God, but denying a deity. So the idea with this word is the power of God, but denying a deity. So that's also pantheism. These were pantheists. These were Egyptian pantheists. You could go further back in time, all the way back to the ancient Hindus, and they're pretty interesting because they also believed they were the original pantheists, the ancient Hindus, and this is in the country of India. And in India, they have every single belief that evolutionists have today. They believe in a Big Bang. It's in their writings. They believe that everything started from a Big Bang. They believe that that nature selected things. It chose who lived and who dies. That's in there as well. Abiogenesis, the idea that life rose from a pond or a pool of soup of some kind. It's also in Hinduism. So, for evolutionists to say that evolution is science and creation is ridiculous because evolution is an ancient religion, and all they're doing is taking pantheism and repackaging it, putting a nice colorful label, calling it science, and then presenting it to you. None of it's true though. So the Greeks, the Egyptians, and the Hindus, they were all pantheists, and all their beliefs match evolution perfectly. So if you believe in, if you're a theistic evolutionist and you believe in both creation, but God started evolution, then you're no longer just a theist, you're a theistic pantheist. This word, let me talk to you a little bit about this word nature as well. One of the first things that I used to do, I taught 7th and 8th grade science in a private Christian school in Sarasota, Florida for a little while, for 3 years, 7th and 8th grade. And one of the first things I did was on the first day, I would pick somebody out of the crowd and I would have them go outside. I'd whisper to them and tell them what to do and not let any of the class hear what I'm saying. And they would come back and they'd have a bucket and it would be full of stuff, full of sticks and leaves, and I was always hoping there wasn't nothing dirty in there. But I told them to, bring me back nature. And that was the order. They'd come back and have all these different things. Well, I'd take out one at a time and say, what is this? And they'd say, that's a stick. What is this? That's an elephant ear. But it was, the point was to show them that everything is separate. The idea that nature is unified is a pantheistic belief. We have word groupings like